Making choices is one of the most crucial aspects of story-driven video games. It's what lets the players control the course of the narrative and decide what type of story they want to tell. However, not every choice you make is crystal clear when it comes to its consequences. There are plenty of moments in video games where your attempts at giving someone a helping hand result in them suffering a terrible end. Nothing hurts more than knowing you have unintentionally doomed someone with your quote-unquote good deed. For this reason, you might want to be extra careful when dealing with the following NPCs. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game characters you unintentionally doomed. Number 10. Charles KINNEAR, Red Dead Redemption. Since the dawn of mankind, one of humanity's greatest aspirations has been to conquer the skies and soar through the air like a majestic eagle. Red Dead Redemption 1 allows you to connect with this innate dream by helping an aspiring inventor named Charles KINNEAR build his first flying machine. It then takes that dream and crushes it right in front of you as you watch the man that you just helped plummet towards his inevitable doom. Yes, although your intentions for helping Charles may be good, if not downright noble, the world of Red Dead Redemption is apparently not a place for dreams and ambitions. As soon as you deliver the necessary parts for Charles's flying machine, the man takes it for a test flight, and then almost immediately finds himself losing control and falling to his death. It's a really cruel trick on the game's part, as trying to gather all of the ingredients for Charles's project is incredibly time-consuming. The fact that all your efforts ever amount to is the death of an innocent man who just wanted to realize his dreams is just brutal. But hey, at least Charles got off better than John. Number 9. Jeff's Wife, Grand Theft Auto 4. The world of Grand Theft Auto is filled with wacky strangers that are more terrible than your average human being. Despite this, the player can still choose to help them, and although usually strangers get their comeuppance, sometimes it's innocent people that suffer. This is exactly what happens in the case of your random encounter with Jeff Harlingford. Jeff is a jealous husband who asks the player to follow his wife and take pictures of her as she goes out for drinks with her friend. It may sound a bit sketchy, but considering the other things you do as Nico in Grand Theft Auto 4, it's actually a fairly innocent request. The mission makes it clear that the wife isn't actually cheating on Jeff, but once the player sends him the requested pictures, the man grows incredibly paranoid. A few days later, he will call Nico asking for another favor, and this is where you find out you've been helping the wrong guy. When you meet up with Jeff, the man will show up with the brutally mutilated corpse of his dead wife. It turns out you gave this unstable man a reason to murder an innocent woman, and worst of all, you did it for a mere $500. Number 8. OLGIERD von EVEREC, Witcher 3. The theme of lesser evil is a pretty important part of the Witcher series. Most decisions that Geralt needs to make throughout the trilogy have no easy answers, and nowhere is this more true than in the Heart of Stone DLC. The DLC's main story revolves around helping a demon called Gaunter O'Dim collect the soul of a man named OLGIERD, who made a deal with him long ago. Now, although you start working off with Gaunter, you can choose to help OLGIERD break his curse. However, although saving a man's soul from a powerful demon sounds morally right, when you really think about OLGIERD's situation, letting Gaunter collect his debt sounds like a more humane solution. You see, because OLGIERD's curse turned him into an immortal and emotionally detached monster, by the time you break it, he has nothing to live for. The love of his life is long dead, as is his brother, and all he knows in life is how to raid and pillage. Given his past temperaments, the freed OLGIERD is likely to become a thrill-seeking and suicidal bandit again, or just fully succumb to his depression. Either way, he's screwed. Number 7. SEPTIMUS SIGNUS, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Whenever Daedric princes rock up in the Elder Scrolls, you know things are about to get particularly messed up. The same goes for Hermaeus Mora's cameo in Skyrim, although you don't really realize how bad things are until it's too late. The main questline in the game requires you to find an insane researcher named SEPTIMUS SIGNUS to learn how to obtain an Elder Scroll. The man is willing to give you the information, but in exchange he wants you to bring his lexicon to the Elder Scrolls location in order to help him translate it. This starts a long quest in which Septimus and you attempt to open a Dwemer colliery in hopes of finding the legendary Heart of Lorcan. What you find inside instead is Hermaeus Mora's artifact, the Ogma Infinium, which immediately kills Septimus. It turns out Mora tricked Septimus into unearthing this artifact because he wanted you, his next champion, to find it. When the old man was no longer needed, Mora simply let him die a terrible death. So, congratulations on your promotion. Let's hope your new boss doesn't trick another soon-to-be champion into getting rid of you next. Number 6. CONRAD VERNER, Mass Effect. CONRAD VERNER is Commander Shepard's #1 fanboy and the only character who can die in every single entry in the trilogy. Each and every time it happens because your character unwittingly pushes him over the edge. In Mass Effect 1, Werner asks Commander Shepard if he could join their Spectre squad. If the player refuses while simultaneously telling Werner to buzz off, he'll become upset and then try and prove his worth by fighting a group of angry Turians, and dying a horrible death in the process. It's a pretty extreme reaction for simply getting a bit moody with him, but in Mass Effect 2, rebuffing Werner has a similar effect, except this time around, Werner tries to prove his heroism by stopping a group of hooligans on a bus, only to fall off said bus, get hit by a bunch of cars, and then finally fall right into a power turbine of a biomatter recycling plant. At least he gets to die a hero in the 3rd game if he makes it that long by stopping Shepard from being shot, but even then, it kinda seems like meeting Commander Shepard was sort of the worst thing that could have ever happened to him. Number 5. Heather Poe, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Heather Poe is a gravely injured woman that the player encounters in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. The player can feed her some of their character's vampiric blood to instantly heal her wounds. However, like most things in the dark world of vampires, your good deed will inevitably lead to something terrible. Soon after Heather is healed, she shows up at your place, begging to become your servant. It turns out your blood is incredibly addictive to humans, and Heather can't think about anything other than your player character. It's not the end of the world though, right? Yeah, okay, you have a slave, but you can be nice to her. Well, the problem is that eventually your character starts attracting some pretty dangerous attention to themselves, and if you don't tell Heather to leave you alone, the vampires from a rival sect will kidnap her and kill her. On the other hand, letting her go isn't a great option either. After all, she's hopelessly addicted to your blood, and by the time you make your decision, she will have sold all her belongings and dropped out of college for you. You know what? Maybe she's better off dead. Number 4. Sims who divided by zero, Sims 3. The Sims series is well known for its quirks and oddities. Most of them are cartoonish and fun, like the game's obsession with llamas, but sometimes the weirdness takes on a more disturbing form. Disturbing and unpredictable. There are many ways in which a sim can die. There's fire, old age, and that old classic before Sims could get out of a pool without a ladder of popping them in said pool and taking away all the ladders. Out of all the games, Sims 3 probably features the largest selection of means of departing from the world of the living, and one of them in particular can completely catch you by surprise. The expansion pack, University Life, introduced a special interaction in which one sim can tell another to divide by zero. It looks like a silly innocent joke, but in reality, when the other sim decides to take them up on the challenge, the impossibility of the equation causes them to, well, explode. Yes, as soon as the sim finishes the equation, fire will erupt from their behind, and there'll soon be a smoldering pile of ashes. What a nerd, getting so fired up over mathematics. Number 3. The Grey Prince, The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. The Grey Prince is the grand champion of the Cyrodiil arena that appears in The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. He's a formidable and honorable warrior who never lost a single match, but at the same time, he's also incredibly friendly and amicable towards his fellow fighters. So you just know the game will absolutely ruin his life. When the player meets the Grey Prince, the orc will tell them about his secret noble heritage. He reveals that he's actually a half-orc and that his father was an imperial lord named Leviticus. The Grey Prince wants to prove he's of noble blood, and so he'll ask you to check his father's old fortress for him. The problem is, once you arrive at the fortress, you discover that Lord Leviticus appears to be a bloodthirsty vampire. When you bring this news back to the Grey Prince, he's horrified by the revelation and can't stand the idea of being the spawn of an evil vampire. He becomes so distraught that he spirals into depression and then eventually lets you kill him in battle. If only those DNA ancestry websites existed in Cyrodiil, it would have spared you a pretty nasty guilt trip. Number 2. Buck the Seamster, Elden Ring. Buck the Seamster is a helpful little demi-human, an Elden Ring mix between a monkey and a human, who offers the player to tailor their outfits for them after they rescue him from his more savage and murderous cousins. Buck is an incredible, humble and helpful fellow, although he has one fatal flaw: he thinks he's incredibly ugly. If the player talks to him about this, Buck will explain that he hates his demi-human form and that his only wish is to be reborn. He tells you that according to legend, Renala, that annoying boss with the one-shot laser beam, is capable of granting people a second life. Naturally, most people want to help their buddy Bok, which is why once they defeat Renala, they immediately tell him to go to her and get his long-awaited moment of rebirth. And this is usually the last they hear from him. You see, after you send this guy off to Renala, it turns out he was indeed reborn as a human, but as is the way with From Software games, things didn't exactly pan out. His new form is incredibly pale and he cannot speak to you. When you visit him the second time, he simply curls into a ball and dies. So much for helping your tailor. Number 1. Gascon's daughter, Bloodborne. The world of Bloodborne is a terrifying and depressing place. Everything is either cursed or gone insane, and as soon as you start thinking maybe you can have a positive impact on this tragic world, whatever you try and do as a good deed turns into a traumatic atrocity. Just like it does with Father Gascon's daughter. Gascon's daughter, yes, that Gascon, the one with the axe and the sharp teeth, not the one that hits on Belle, is a young and innocent girl who hides from the atrocities of Yharnam inside her parents' home. Despite her apparent safety, she's worried about her parents, and she asks the player to find out what happened to them. Long story short, it turns out Father Gascon killed his wife, and then the hunter killed him. When the girl finds out about this, she begins to question the safety of her house, and at this point, the player can direct her to a new hideout. Ah, good on you, helping a young girl survive the apocalypse. Except you aren't. This is Bloodborne, remember? In reality, the girl never makes it to the new safe house. She gets eaten by a massive boar halfway there, and it's all your fault. Then again, by From Software standards, that's still almost a happy ending. That's it for our list, but do let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other video game characters you unintentionally doomed. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.